that conflict has now defined ourselves.
In the news, polluted communities can sue English courts. And across Africa, try get one step from famine, says EU. On the international scene, live bullets used against protesters, says UN envoy. And in business, economic activities recording positive growth. On the entertainment scene, Fela nominated for 2021 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And finally in sports, Nku Ekuta qualifies for Tokyo Olympic Games. Details shortly. Hello and welcome to TOS TV, your digital-first Pan-African news network. I am Musa Isesele, and this is TOS News 360. The UK Supreme Court has ruled that polluted Nigerian communities can sue oil giant Shell in English courts. The decision overturns a previous appeal court ruling and represents a victory after a 5-year legal battle. The Niger Delta communities of more than 40,000 people say decades of pollution have severely impacted their lives, health, and local environment. Shell had argued it was only a holding company for a firm that should be judged under Nigerian law. The Supreme Court, the UK's final appeal court for civil cases, ruled that the cases brought by the Bile community and the Ogale people of Ogoniland against Royal Dutch Shell were arguable and could proceed in the English courts. Royal Dutch Shell did not dispute that pollution had been caused, but argued it could not be held legally responsible for its Nigerian subsidiary, and that the pollution was the result of crude oil theft, pipeline sabotage, and illegal refinery. Shell is responsible for about 50% of the Delta's oil production. Chief Elias Mbam, the chairman Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC, says the All Progressive Congress, APC, will decide which zone will produce the 2023 presidential candidate of the party at the appropriate time. Mbam spoke on Friday at Ngbu Agbaja in Wofe Community, Ebonyi local government area of Ebonyi State, after revalidating his membership of the party. The APC chieftain, who was reacting to the current clamor of the party to zone its presidential ticket to the southeast geopolitical zone, noted that such decision could only be taken by the APC. Mbam, who explained that the interest of the zone was better achieved under APC, stressed that the decision to zone presidential slot was entirely reserved for the party. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) Friday gave reasons why previous attempts by the commission to create more polling units failed. It said the genuine intention to expand voter access to polling units in 2007, 2014, and shortly before the 2019 general election was misunderstood and politicized. We came to the conclusion that our genuine intention may not have been properly communicated for impute by Nigerians. We also tried to solve the problem too close to general elections. The exercise was therefore misunderstood and politicized. Learning from experience, the Commission has now decided to start early and to engage with Nigerians by consulting widely. Our intention is also articulated in a discussion paper entitled "The State of Voter Access to Polling Units in Nigeria." We have also prepared satellite imageries, of the location of polling units across the country and produced still pictures and videos to demonstrate the difficulties faced by voters on election day. This is your digital-first Pan-African network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next, developments across Africa after the break. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. The European Commission on Thursday warned that the Tigray region of Ethiopia could be approaching a famine as the country's 3-month-long conflict continued. The region is largely off from the world as fighting enters a 4th month. Speaking in Brussels, European Commissioner for International Partnerships, Jonathan Oplenen, said the EU was extremely concerned by the situation in Ethiopia and announced the bloc would be postponing an €88.5 million support payment until there was a cease of hostilities, unhindered humanitarian access, and an investigation of reported human rights abuses. Opilenen also said the bloc would be allocating €17 million to support the Sudanese government in aiding refugees who had crossed over into its territory to escape the conflict in Tigray. More children could be pushed into joining armed groups in conflict zones as families face increasing poverty due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a top United Nations official has warned. The exact number of child soldiers is unknown, but in 2019 alone, about 7,740 children, some as young as 6, were recruited and used as fighters or in other roles by mostly non-state armed groups, according to UN data. Speaking on International Day Against the Use of Child Soldiers of Red Hand Day, the UN Special Representative for Children and Armed Conflict, Virginia Gamba, said the number was likely to rise as a result of coronavirus-related hardship. More and more children will be either attracted or sometimes told by their parents to just go and join because someone's got to feed them. As children are not in schools, the target of attacking a school for abduction or recruitment of children is shifting to where the children are, she said. The pandemic has also delayed progress on implementing legislation in different countries to prohibit and criminalize the recruitment and use of children by armed forces and groups, Gamba said, calling for legislators to prioritize the issue. This is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next, stories from the international scene after the break. Welcome back. You're watching TOS News 360, and now on the global scene, Yemen's security forces have been using live ammunition against anti-coup protesters in breach of international law, the UN Human Rights Envoy says. Speaking at an emergency meeting in Geneva, Thomas Andrews condemned the leaders of the coup and said there were growing reports and photographic evidence of wrongdoing. He called for economic sanctions and a ban on weapons exports to the country. Protests continued on Friday in defiance of a plea from the Army Chief, General Minister Ang Lang, calls to unity to prevent disintegration as the country marks the Union Day holiday. Demonstrators are demanding the release of detained elected leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi. The International Criminal Court member countries are set Friday to elect a new chief prosecutor for the War Crimes Tribunal, a grueling post whose current holder is under U.S. sanctions. Four candidates from Britain, Ireland, Italy, and Spain were vying to replace Fatou Bensouda, who has led controversial probes into Afghanistan and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict since 2012. The ICC's member states have failed to reach a consensus despite several attempts in recent weeks and will now vote on the new prosecutor at the United Nations in New York. The new prosecutor's first task will include deciding the next steps on the probe into war crimes in Afghanistan and the hugely contentious investigation into the 2014 Israel-Palestinian conflict in Gaza. AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective and should be deployed widely across all age groups, including in countries where the South African variant of the coronavirus may reduce its efficacy, a World Health Organization panel said on Wednesday. In interim recommendations on the shot, the Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization panel said the vaccine should be given in 2 doses with an interval of 8 to 12 weeks and should also be used in people aged 65 and older. Even in countries such as South Africa, where questions have been raised about the AstraZeneca vaccine's efficacy against a newly emerged variant of the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus, there is no reason not to recommend its use, SAGI's chair Alejandro Cravioto told a briefing. In a joint briefing with the WHO's SARG expert panel on immunization, officials recommended the shot should be widely used, emphasizing that its benefits outweigh any risk analysis. This is your Digital First Pan-African Network, TOS Television. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next is business, entertainment, and sports. Welcome back. Now in business, the federal government has said that economic activities in Nigeria are recovering. This, the government said, is reflected by a reduced contraction of 3.6% in the third quarter of 2020 compared to the previous quarter. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed said that some economic activities in the country are showing resilience by recording strong positive growth. Zainab Ahmed made this disclosure at the recently held virtual Deloitte Economic Outlook 2021, where she outlined Nigeria's economic recovery plans for 2021. Ahmed stated that by 2021, the economy will recover from recession. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the Nigerian economy will rebound from the estimated protraction of 3.2% in 2020 to growth of 1.5% in 2021. From 2023 to 2025, Nigeria's growth is projected to surpass that of the advanced economies. And now in entertainment, Fela was among the 7 artists whose name appeared on the list alongside Jay-Z, Foo Fighters, and Tina Turner. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has just announced their 2021 nominees, and it includes the late Afrobeat legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti. Artists become eligible for induction 25 years after the release of their first record. In order to be inducted, an artist must be nominated by a committee that selects a number of candidates, the highest being 16 for the 2020 class. The top 5 inductees are selected by public vote, and the fan vote is now officially open. From Wednesday through April 30th, fans can vote for up to 5 nominees daily. The legendary singer is appearing on the list for the first time. Moving on to sports, according to the latest report released by the African Judo Union, AGU, tagged AGU Olympic Games qualification status, Nigeria's sole representative in the 63 kg women, Nku Ekita, was listed among 33 judokas from Africa who have qualified for the Olympics. According to the AGJU report, Ekita's 620 points placed her among the top 16 women judokas in Africa, and the points were enough to secure her a continental quota qualification. Ekita is currently Nigeria's highest-ranked judoka and the only judoka from Nigeria that will participate at the Olympic Games. She is also preparing to participate in other forthcoming international judo competitions ahead of the Olympics. And that is TOS News 360 on your Digital First Pan-African News Network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow and like TOS Television Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and remember to subscribe on YouTube. Do stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS TV Network. I'm Musa Zeh Isesele. Thanks for watching.